Hey guys, today we're going to be looking at my top 5 AD carries for solo queue this patch. I'm also going to be doing something a bit different and give you some tips to focus on at the end of each champ, so let's just jump straight in at number 5. Tristana has a good mix of everything really, and she'll always be a solid AD carry. Her lane phase is pretty good, she dips a bit mid game and then comes back insanely strong late game. The reason I'm putting her back on this list this patch is because games are starting to go a bit longer now. Yeah, you do have some games where they snowball into oblivion and are over straight away, but that only tends to happen when you get hammered in lane. With Tristana, she can hold her own in lane, even get ahead, which makes her different from the other late game carries. The thing is, you pick Tristana because she is so amazing late game. That's what I keep thinking about when I think of her. She has crazy range, an attack speed steroid, a jump, and ultimate to stay safe, and insane damage anyway. So there is a big double-edged sword with Tristana. If you are good in lane, then she's like the least risky pick ever because of how insane her late game is, so there's like no pressure to end quickly or make plays. If though you suck in lane and get behind, you are going to be useless for a while. Top tips really would be to use your explosive charge properly in lane. Like, make sure you don't use it at max range. If you use your charge at max range, they'll just run away and you won't be able to charge any damage. Let them get closer, then do it, and you'll get at least a few hits in. Also remember that it's not just auto attacks, but abilities like your jump and ultimate that increase the explosive charge stack too. Now normally I give you masteries and runes and stuff for each champion, but because of League of Thunderlords, there's literally no point me putting masteries for each champ because, well, they're all the same, so you can find runes and masteries in the description below. Next up is Twitch, and he was in my underrated video a few days ago, so I'm going to try not to repeat myself. There is really one reason that Twitch has suddenly come back as one of the strongest AD carry picks, and that's the new Runan's Hurricane. Runan's can now crit, and yes, it works with your ultimate. Your ultimate will attack everyone in the line at increased range, while also increasing your AD by the way. Then you have the Runans attacking everyone around that line and critting and applying poison. That is really why he's a beast. Like, his lane phase is average. You can win it, but against most others on this list, you're going to come out behind, but that doesn't even matter. As soon as you get level 6, you can start to stealth up to people and catch them, and hopefully at this point you can kind of catch back up in the game and get a few items. Team fights are where you really shine just because of that crazy damage and crazy range. So top tips: in lane, keeping stacks of poison is pretty easy. You auto attack them once and apply a stack, and then all you need to do is attack them once again just before the stack times out and refreshes it up to 2 stacks. The poison itself lasts for 6 seconds, so getting one auto in every 6 seconds isn't too hard and it's going to add up to a ton of damage. Now taking our bronze medal is Lucien, and I am so happy. So I have pumped like 600 games into this guy, and Lucien, actually saying I pump into a guy is probably a mistake on the internet, but fuck it, I really don't want to record that. Lucien can probably carry harder than anyone on this list if you are really good with him, just because of how much outplay potential he has. If this was my personal AD carry list, then I would have Lucien at number 1, but in general he's sitting about here. The main reason Lucien has come back is because of the Essence Reaver, and it's a huge item on him. He benefits so much from everything on it, but mostly the cooldown reduction. He can dash even more now, he relies on his abilities for a lot of his damage, but it also means that you can get your passive shots out even more now. That's the other really big thing actually. His passive shots can crit, and even though they do less damage, they still pack a big punch. So when you have Essence Reaver, Shield of Fire Cannon, and Infinity Edge, like those 3 items, you have insane cooldown reduction, crit chance, and damage. Your ultimate now does a lot of damage even early too, and it really means that you have a very risk-free playstyle on him. You can poke from afar with your Q and ultimate, and it gives you complete lane control without doing much. In team fights he's really good. You can have your ultimate do damage from the back, your passive shot shred tanks and squishy targets, you have your abilities, and you have really high mobility. My top tips for Lucien start with his lane phase. It's pretty good anyway, especially if you can make sure you use your passive shots before using another ability, but the main way you'll get ahead is once you have some AD by lining up your Q on minions and hitting the enemy AD behind them. You combine a few shots like that and your ultimate, and you can probably net a kill or at least force them back. Number 2, we have Misfortune, who used to actually be kind of a joke AD carry and is now, well, good at pretty much every stage of the game. You remember for Tristana when I said games only really snowball now when you get hammered in lane? Well, Misfortune is very, very good at hammering anyone in lane. She does insane damage, and most of it is that dumb poke with her Q, which you can't even trade back. Your great lane phase goes into a great mid game and a great late game too. Your ultimate is huge damage mid game, and late game you have crit, attack speed steroid, and even your ultimate crits too, making it relevant late game, which is pretty rare for an ability. She has some mobility with her W. I mean, it's actually, well, it's not great, but it's something, right? It kind of helps. She's got a very simple kit and playstyle, which really kind of revolves around dealing a huge amount of damage, and that makes her ideal for lower elo. Yeah, she doesn't have an escape, but that's really the only thing you have to worry about. Her damage is very high and very easy to do. My top tips really would be to poke with your Q in lane as much as possible, especially trying to kill the minion with Q so that it crits the second target. So that's basically your lane phase, like it revolves entirely around your Q, and when team fights come around, try and get to a safe place, and then use your ultimate over as many people as possible. So our top spot is someone you probably didn't expect, but hear me out, okay? Corki's been flying under the radar in the preseason. He's like, wait, hang on a second, that was actually a pun, and I didn't even mean it to be, I'm sorry. He's got a crazy amount of damage right now, but it's like a lot of burst damage and ability damage actually. It's kind of strange because he's always been this weird mixed hybrid AD carry, but now with Triforce and Essence Reaver, he does insane amounts of damage with his Q and wins fights he really shouldn't. You'll see what I mean in these clips anyway, how fast people actually die. The reason he's number one is not just because of him, but kind of because of how well he fits with the preseason style of game. Games can be very snowbally if you get ahead early and push that lead home mid-game. This is like Corki in a nutshell. He doesn't have the greatest pre-6, but once he gets some levels and items, he will dish out some crazy damage. When mid-game does roll around, even if you're behind, you'll be able to swing the game back into your favor with how much damage you do. And the best way I can put it is it's like having a mix between an AD carry and a mid laner. Your Q is your main source of damage, but your ultimate is good poke. You have the package now, which is great for getting ahead in the lane phase, and even an escape to keep yourself safe. Yeah, you won't do as much damage late game, but your mid game strength is just too strong right now. I know it sounds kind of odd maybe, but give him a go in a normal game and see for yourself. Corki is pretty straightforward to play. You just poke with your ultimate and make sure you hit your Q. The package is the only real difference, I guess. When you pick it up from your base, you want to try and actually engage with it. It does some good damage, it slows, and you can use your W again instantly to reposition out of danger. That is often what will get you ahead in the lane phase and even mid game sometimes, but do not do this late game because it is not worth the risk of instantly dying. Now, honorable mentions this time will go to Ezreal and Quinn. Quinn I just have to point out because she's so good all around right now. In fact, the reason I'm not putting her in any of these lists is because she could be number one everywhere, and I'm just going to make a Quinn video. Ezreal is great with the new items, just like Corki actually. He does great damage, but it's kind of only great if you consistently hit your Q, which is actually hard to do. If you are good with skill shots though, and you're willing to put in some practice, then Ezreal is definitely a good pickup right now. Anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you did, make sure to like it really helps me out. Subscribe, share it with your friends, but I'll catch you in my next video.